Namaskaram. Thank you very much for inviting me here to your lovely state of Kerala and the beautiful city of Kochi. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for inviting me here to your college, which is a historic college, established, as I was reminded today, even before independence in 1944. So you should be very proud of being part of such a great institution. Distinguished guests on the podium, father, principal, staff members, but most importantly, students. Kochi is a long way from Delhi. It's a 3-hour flight, but the best thing about coming to Kerala is it is far warmer than Delhi ever can be, both in your hearts and your minds. Kerala is a state that brings people together. Delhi, because of its politics, tends to divide people. So you should be very proud of being in the state of Kerala, one that brings Hindus, Muslims, Christians together on one platform. We live in an age where most of you, I know, now follow news on mobile phones and Instagram. Nowadays, I see videos are supposed to go viral. We live in the age of reels. Everybody is making a reel. Everybody's on YouTube. And many of you are probably following the news increasingly on digital media. I come from an age, and that reveals my age, when we started off on a typewriter. In 1988, we did not even have a computer in our office in the Times of India. In fact, when computers came in 1990, we went on a pen-down strike, saying computers will take away our jobs. Today, we are in the age of artificial intelligence, and people are telling us AI will take away jobs. Truth, my friends, is good journalism will always matter. Whether you are in the age of the typewriter, the computer, the television, or the mobile or AI, there is no substitute for good journalism. There is something very, very special about doing a good story that impacts people. I don't have to tell this to Kerala, a state where you have newspapers that sell in lakhs. Every house I go to in Kerala, whenever I have come here, the newspaper is always there. If not one, then 2 newspapers are there. Very few states have this great tradition of journalism. I don't know what most newsrooms in Delhi would do without Malayalis and Bengalis. Y'all are the 2 communities who are in most news desks, who make a difference, because y'all are, in a way, a state which has a great tradition of journalism. Why does good journalism matter? 2 or 3 months ago, I was covering the elections in Maharashtra. Now, most people, when they cover elections in Maharashtra, don't go beyond the bright lights of Mumbai. But Maharashtra is one of India's largest states. And as I was traveling across Maharashtra, I came to a district called Amravati. My great-grandmother was born in Amravati, so I was very keen to go and see the house in which she lived. But there was another reason I wanted to go to Amravati. Amravati is the suicide capital of India when it comes to farmer suicides. Thousands of farmers have committed suicide in Amravati over the last 25 years. Many of them were cotton farmers. Now they are soybean farmers. So I wanted to understand, why is it that so many farmers commit suicide in Amravati? And while I was traveling in the villages of Amravati, I came across a lady whose husband had committed suicide 6 months ago. And he had committed suicide because he could not pay a 1 lakh rupee bank loan. 1 lakh rupee bank loan, he had committed suicide. She was a very brave woman. She did not cry, but she told me her story. I recorded her story and I put it on air. Within 1 day of the story airing, and we aired it in Marathi as well, 20 lakhs came into her account. Think about it. One story aired on TV, aired on digital. A woman whose husband committed suicide because he could not pay 1 lakh got 20 lakh rupees in her bank account. That is the power of journalism. If you tell the story of people, there are enough people who will respond positively. When you tell the story of politicians, it doesn't make a difference to anyone except the politicians. When you tell the story of human beings, it makes a difference to the lives of people. And that is why I believe good journalism matters. Good journalism must ultimately tell the story of people. I also recall last year, we did a story of a national hockey player. He had been a hockey player who had represented Punjab and the country 15-20 years ago. He was now a loader because he had no job. We aired the story. Arvind Kejriwal, who was then the Chief Minister of Delhi, saw the story, contacted Bhagwant Mann from his own party, who is the Chief Minister of Punjab, and within 1 week, that hockey player had been given a job by the Punjab government. That is the power of good journalism. You tell the story of people, people can be affected and you can make a difference. We must tell stories of those who are disadvantaged, those who do not have the same facilities as the rich and powerful. Journalists have two choices. They can tell the story of Ambani wedding, and I'm sure you will all watch the reels of what is going on in the wedding and who is coming, who is dancing there, who is not dancing there. But there is a world beyond the rich and famous. This is a country of 1.4 billion Indians. The story of India is a story of 28 states and 9 union territories. We should be able to tell the story of every Indian. Truth is, most television does not do that. Most of the time, television, I don't know whether Malayalam television is any different, but all I see is people fighting with each other in a television screen. I call it the Ravan school of journalism. Why Ravan? Because one day you will have 100 heads pointing out of your TV screen. My fear is even in Kerala, most primetime news shows will have angry people shouting at each other. 1 hour will be wasted with all of them shouting at each other in a manner that you and I don't get any knowledge. And we don't end up telling the story of a farm widow in Amravati or a hockey player who has become a loader in Punjab. Good journalism is actually about telling truth to those in power. It is not about becoming comfortable with those in power. It is not about how close I am to a Pinarayi Vijayan or how close I am to a Ramesh Chennithala. We should be talking truth to power to whoever is in power. Today it could be the left front government in Kerala. Tomorrow it could be the Congress government in your state. We should be telling truth to power when there is an abuse of authority, when the law is abused. I'll give you an example. I don't know how many of you in this hall, many of you are very young, know of the story of Jessica Lal. How many of you have heard of the story of Jessica Lal? A young girl, a young woman who was killed by a politician's son, shot dead in a bar in Delhi by a politician's son who was drunk on the power of that politician. Having killed her, the young man tried to use all the influence that he had to ensure that the case was closed and he could be proven innocent. Witnesses were forced to change their testimony because this man had power and he had money. And eventually a stage was reached where it seemed no one killed Jessica, which was the name of a movie which was made by that dame. But because journalists followed up the story, because journalists wrote about how the witnesses had been turned hostile, because television for once exposed what was happening in the Jessica Lal case, eventually the person who killed her was sent to jail and spent 15 years in jail. That is the power of good journalism. To be able to do justice where there is injustice before you. But how many such cases actually get reported? I am here in a gathering of priests. Many of you will know the story of Father Stan Swami. Father Stan Swami, I don't know again how many of you in this audience know, was an octogenarian, 82-year-old priest. He was very close to someone I knew who had taught me in college. I went to St. Xavier's College. Father Stan Swami had worked very closely with some of my teachers. Father Stan Swami at the age of 82, Father Stan Swami at the age of 82 was arrested and called a terrorist because he had been working among the tribals of Jharkhand. At the age of 82, he was arrested under an anti-terror law, and even though his health was deteriorating, he was being denied a basic straw sipper. Please think about it. In jail, an 82-year-old father was being denied a straw sipper because he could not drink properly. But the court was denying it to him. The matter was taken up. Stories were written about it. Father Stan Swami at least got a straw sipper in the end, even though tragically he died in jail. Whenever there is an abuse and an excess of power, and it happens all the time in our society, it is the duty of young journalists, young and old journalists, to tell truth to power. Those are the stories that you must want to do if you want to become a journalist. Those are the stories that I believe will make a difference. And remember one thing, all of you young people in this room are actually India's lucky generation, because you have the benefit of technology. You can, each and every one of you in this room can be a citizen journalist. Each and every one of you in this room can use the power of a mobile phone to send out videos, to tell stories about what is happening around you. You don't even need a platform anymore. You can start your own blog sites. You can start your own websites. And in your own small way, you can make a difference to building a better India. You see, most people in journalism only report the negative. There are lots of good news also going on in society. Lots of people who are making a difference by making India a better place. And I've always believed that journalism must also report what I call good news stories. Stories of hope, of Indians who are making a difference to helping others build a better life. There is this woman in Maharashtra, for example, who started off with a small orphanage in which she had about 8 or 10 children whom she would help. Over the years, she was able to increase the size of the orphanage to more than 1,000 children. We told her story, and many people came forward to support her. Those are the kind of stories that I believe make a difference to building a better India. There is so much of compassion in the world around us. So many people who in their own small way are striving to build a better India. Should we not tell their stories? Ask yourself, how many times do you see on TV a good news story? There is now a website called betterindia.com. Whenever you have an opportunity, every morning if you can, or every night before you go to sleep, just click on to betterindia.com. They will tell you 1 or 2 stories of Indians who are making a difference to so many people's lives. Many years ago, I met one such Indian. He was working in Ladakh. He was working in one of the most difficult parts of the country, but he was working on climate change. He was working on how to ensure that the waters of Ladakh remained in Ladakh. His name was Sonam Wangchuk. Eventually, Sonam's story in a way became inspirational for a Hindi film movie. And he got a Magsaysay award, and he got an award as well. Why should we not tell the story of Sonam Wangchuk? When you tell good news stories, you inspire many others to do good news. So there are two tasks to build good journalism. One is to tell truth to power. One is to tell stories that inspire others to do better things in their lives. To my mind, in this country, the challenge before journalism is to replace sensation with sense, noise with news, chaos with credibility. There is a lot of noise around us. We are all on our mobiles 24/7 embracing this noise. There is an entire WhatsApp university which has come out there, which is spreading the worst form of disinformation and misinformation almost every day. And it is dividing people. One day before the Maharashtra elections a few months ago, an aunt of mine sent me a WhatsApp. Waqf board is about to take over Siddhi Vinayak temple in Mumbai. And she wanted me to air the story. I said, where did you get this story? Oh, I have got a WhatsApp video. It turned out to be a totally false story. Now, isn't it the job of journalists to be fact checkers? Think of the impact this WhatsApp is having on all your lives. And today, in the age of AI, people are putting out false videos. It is the job of journalists to be fact checkers, to be able to tell people the truth. The worst thing that journalists can do is divide Indians into Hindu, Muslims, Christians. But that happens all the time. In Hindi, there is a line, and I'll translate it into English. Nafrat फैलाना बहुत आसान है, प्यार बांटना बहुत मुश्किल. It is very easy to spread hate. It is very difficult to spread love. Some news channels thrive on hate. They want to divide you. They want to first focus on how do I spread division instead of bringing people together. That is the challenge for good journalism. The challenge for good journalism is to live by the values of courage, of compassion, of making people understand the importance of what it means to be harmonious. And that's why I think it is important to have good journalism. I've just written a book which is available as part of your book fair. I hope all of you will, or many of you will read it. One of the chapters is on the media. The media today is being taken over by forces who are not interested in media or journalism. They are only interested in taking over a channel or a newspaper so that they can peddle influence, so that they can be close to those in power. And I tell the story there of NDTV, one of India's first news channels that was set up, but was taken over a couple of years ago by the only Indian who seems to take over every company. His name is Gautam Adani. I have nothing against Mr. Adani, but I don't think Mr. Adani took over a news channel to promote journalism or good journalism. He took it over so that he can have even more influence over those in power. And that is the big challenge that journalists face today. A journalist does not have the money power that a businessman will have. And a businessman today controls much of the media. It is important, therefore, to find spaces where good journalism can be done. And we should be, in our own lives, looking for those stories that promote good journalism. If today, for example, electoral bonds, the manner in which political parties are making money out of, were using electoral bonds to finance their campaigns has now been stopped by the Supreme Court, it is because only there was good investigative journalism that exposed the electoral bond scheme. Good journalism does matter. I know that many of you in this audience will be interested in what the actors have to say, actresses have to say. In Delhi also I find more interest in what is Shah Rukh Khan up to. But we have to get out of this sensational world. There is space for that. Page 3 must not become page 1. Page 1 must be about hard news. Page 1 must be about news that makes a difference to the lives of people. And to my mind, if all the young people in this room can make a difference to even one other Indian who is less fortunate than you, you will have helped build a better India. Then whether you become a journalist, whether you become a professional, I think the goal of every Indian, in whatever profession he or she chooses, should be to make a difference and improve the lives of one other Indian. If you can do that, if you can make a difference to the life of even one other Indian, we'll build a better India. You're very privileged to be part of an institute like Sacred Heart, an institute with a long legacy of 80 years. Think about those who will not have that privilege, and think about what can you do to make their lives better. I saw only yesterday, as I conclude, I had on my primetime show, I anchor a 9 p.m. show, a story which depressed me. There was a story about ragging that had taken place in a college in Kerala, and about how a young boy had been tortured by his seniors. Now, most news channels in Delhi had not even carried the story, because Kerala is far away from Delhi. If the same story had happened in Delhi, there would have been a big major hue and cry. But because it was happening in Kerala, it seemed to have slipped off the national map. Just as what is happening in Manipur doesn't seem to register by the time you reach Delhi, because Manipur is far away from Delhi. But to my mind, the story of this boy who was badly ragged in a most violent, brutal, inhuman manner is a story that journalists must tell, must ensure that all those responsible are punished and there is accountability. I hope that the Kerala journalists will take this up on a war footing, and I also hope that the national media will cover this story with the same intensity that we would cover it if a young boy or girl was ragged in Delhi. Because I am convinced that if journalists pursue this story, it will ensure that no other child in Kerala ever goes through that kind of ragging ever again. That should be the power of good journalism. We must ensure that no school or college in Kerala is allowed to get away. The people involved are allowed to get away with the kind of ragging. It's a shame, really, to be honest, on a state which has always been proud of its legacy of being India's most literate state. And to my mind, unless you tell the story with vigor, with strength, that's the only way that you can hold those in power accountable. So long as that power remains in journalism, I believe that we still can see a better future. There's a lovely word in Hindi called Fir Subah Hogi. There will always be tomorrow. I always believe that tomorrow will be a better day than today. And so if we can tell the stories that matter to each and every Indian, each and every Keralite, each and every Indian, I believe we can together build a better India. Once again, I want to thank each and every one of you for inviting me here today, for bestowing me this award in the name of someone who devoted his entire life to education and philanthropic causes. I deem it a great honor to be in your wonderful city and your wonderful school. Thank you very much.
Thank Thank you, Mr. Sardesai, for hitting us hard with the truth that no shortcut should get us success. Now, the floor is open for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand and mic will be passed to you.
Hi. Would you say it's ethical for media to conduct a sting operation? And where do you draw the boundary? Where do you draw the line? Is it...
Satvik, you could come to the front and ask.
Hi. Would you say it's ethical for media to conduct a sting operation? And where would you say you would draw the line? Where would you say you draw the boundary in conducting a sting operation?
I think thank you very much for that question. I think the line has to be drawn as to who are you using the sting operation against. If the person is someone powerful, who there is no other way to expose, then a sting operation is justified. If you can do the story without a sting operation, that's much better. Because sometimes a sting operation can be entrapping someone. But if there is a powerful person who's misusing his power and authority, that person needs to be exposed. Let's assume there is a judge who is corrupt. And if you can catch his corruption on camera, why should you not expose him or her? So I think a sting operation is valid depending on the nature of the crime that you are exposing.
Sure. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, do you think investigative journalism is thriving or is it declining in India? And what do you think are like the risks involved? Like, do you think it is safe, especially in the times where, it's very easy to get blackmail? Recently there was a journalist who got killed for bringing out a scam regarding, public development of roads and everything in North India. So do you think at this stage is it safe? And do you think it should keep growing or?
Look, you are absolutely right. Investigative journalism now in India is being criminalized. There are journalists who have done excellent work on exposing some of India's, who are attempting to expose big scams. They have so many cases being put on them. You mentioned the case of this boy who was killed last month. His body was found at the bottom of a well in Chhattisgarh because he was exposing the nexus of the road contractors and their corruption. Investigative journalism can be dangerous. It is being criminalized, unfortunately, but it is very important to do investigative journalism. In one state in North India, a young journalist exposed the midday meal scheme, how the kind of food that was being given to young students in the name of the midday meal scheme. He has an FIR filed against him. Imagine the person who's exposing it is having to face the courts. No one in power wants to face the truth, whether in Kerala or whether in Uttar Pradesh. That is the problem.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Yes. Okay. Since many news outlets depend on political funding or corporate, what measures can be taken to ensure unbiased journalism? What measures can be implemented?
Ma'am, you are asking a very difficult question to which I don't have an answer at the moment. Okay. The problem is it is not easy to create a media outlet today without having some financial support. The big business houses therefore can control the media because they have the financial resources. But we are in the age of technology. The good news is today you can sit, 5 of you in this room can sit together and set up a website. Now you may not make a lot of money out of it, but if you do it well, there will be people watching you. So the hope is that citizen journalism, where people come together to form smaller outlets, may offer a challenge to those who have these big business, to the big business houses who have commercial interests.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is that misinformation and fake news are major concerns today. So, what role should media houses play to tackle them?
Every media house must have a fact checker. Every media house must have an in-house fact checker. And if they don't, people like you should become fact checkers. It's a good business model also. We need more fact checkers, people who will check facts. Because if you spread so much of misinformation, disinformation, think of the impact it's having on young minds. So I think it's a very valuable thing if every media organization across this country has a fact-checking unit.
Hi, sir. Hi, sir. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is,
You need a haircut.
Oh. My question is, have you seen any difference in how journalism is done here in Kerala and how is it done in other states? Something that has captured your eye, any uniqueness that you have noticed?
You know, I just see that Kerala is a state which is passionate about news. I don't think there are too many states as passionate about news as Kerala. I have written in my book also the story of Siddiq Kappan from your state of Kerala, who was arrested and again branded a terrorist only because he was going to cover a news story in Hathras. I find in Kerala a lot of passion for news, which is great. And because you have had a tradition of newspapers with such large circulation, I think it passes from generation to generation. I don't see the same passion for news, frankly, in North India, and newspapers in particular, that I see in Kerala. Kerala is the last remaining bastion for newspapers. You know, that is Kerala's strength. Most other parts of the country today, newspapers are struggling to survive. In Kerala, I see newspapers still having space, which is fantastic. I started off as a newspaper man. My heart is still in a newspaper. So I'm very happy that Kerala carries on the tradition of having large circulating newspapers.
My father is 87 and he's been following you closely.
That's your father?
Yeah, he wants to ask you a question.
Sir.
Can there be some professionalism in the working of the Election Commission?
Sir?
More professionalism in the working of Election Commission.
Election Commission.
Right.
Can you bring about it?
So in my book, in my new book, I write the Election Commission has become like the Pakistan cricket umpires. The Pakistan cricket umpires used to only bat for Pakistan. They were like a 12th man. The Election Commission, unfortunately, is acquiring that reputation. It's very sad. And I think that is something to be concerned about. Will that change? I don't know. That has to be changed by courts. Courts have to take a stand against Election Commission. But you're right. I don't think elections are free and fair in this country anymore because of money power. The biggest problem in this country during elections is the amount of money that is used. Kerala, relatively better, but even in Kerala, I'm told now you need more and more money power to win elections. So I think the Election Commission should clamp down on money power for starters. But I'm glad at the age of 87, you're still enthusiastic to ask those questions, sir. And it is your enthusiasm that I think represents why I said Kerala is different.
Sir, it's said that...
Yes, ma'am. Hi. What's your name?
My name is Gayatri. Okay, sir. It's said that media should work as an opposition to the state or the government. As far as I see, I observe, it's as such in Kerala. When it comes to the national level, media are a little hesitant to do that. Why? What holds back the national media to do that opposition thing?
It's a very good question, ma'am. The problem is the government is the biggest advertiser. Maximum advertisements for most news channels and newspapers come from government. How will you question and criticize those who are funding you? That is a big problem. You know who was the second biggest advertiser till last year? Baba Ramdev. That's why nobody questioned Patanjali and what Baba Ramdev was doing. So I think part of the problem is the business model, ma'am. Because government controls the business of news to such an extent, that's why it's very difficult to challenge the government.
Hello, sir. Over here.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question. It's basically I want to know your opinion on it. So you said that us youths will venture out into social media, sharing information, videos. So when we share such truths, how do we prevent like the threats, or like how we should inform the public?
No,
to
you
avoid threats.
You can set up you're a young man, set up your own YouTube channel. Put out your YouTube videos. There's no, at the moment, as of now, there's no censorship. You can set up your own YouTube channel. And if you do good quality content, if you do stories that strike a chord, people will start subscribing to you. That is one way out. There is space for now increasingly young people in particular who understand technology to set up their own YouTube channels.
Okay, thank you.
If the questions are over, we could wind up the session. One last question.
Hi, sir. My question is, there is a poem in Tamil Nadu that Tennadu Sivane potri, Ennatavarukku Mireba potri, which means in South India, we call God as Lord Shiva. That is first line, meaning second line is Ennatavarukku Mireba potri, which means in every part of the world, he is the God, but you can call him in different names. Changing in names, he's the same person. So it's really shocked about me because in our ancestors just say that this is one person in different names. Why in India caste and classes are used as a tool in political leaders to get votes? Why?
You see, when you fail to provide roti, kapda or makan, there is always religion.
Excuse me?
When you fail to provide roti, kapda, makan, shiksha, education, when you fail to provide the things that really matter to people, then you play on their emotions. And when you play on emotions, you use religion as a weapon. Religion is used as a weapon to divide. Religion can unite people, it can divide people. Politicians divide people on the name of religion. You see, that's why I am a great fan of cricket. Because on the cricket field, when Mohammad Shami is bowling, or Sanju Samson is batting, you're not going to say one is a Muslim and one is a Christian. They are proud Indians playing for India. But the moment you'll enter politics, you'll say this is a Muslim vote bank, this is a Christian vote bank. Politicians play vote bank politics. People bring in other areas of life, you bring people together. Politicians divide. They want votes. Politicians do everything for votes. They will appeal on grounds of religion because they think through religious identity they can get votes. Let's be honest. In 21st century, India should not be worried whether there was a temple or a mosque or a church in a place. In the 21st century, you should be building many schools and colleges like Sacred Heart. That is how a new India will be built. A new India will be built when you have many more schools and colleges that provide quality education to young Indians. That should be the debate. Politicians don't want to debate on education, so they use religion to divide us.
Hello, sir. We are really inspired by your words, but how difficult it is for you to keep the spirit of journalism, especially in a period where your friends or colleagues are either changing channels or quitting journalism or slightly mellowing down their spirit?
Now, I'm also mellowing down and I'm also planning to quit soon, I think. But the truth of the matter is, life is a journey. You carry on because you don't know anything else. But I think, look, you have one life to lead. You might as well live it on certain principles that you hold fast. People around you change. That's there. I cannot stop them. But you know, I am very fond of Hindi film music. So there is a Hindi song which I will translate again. Zindagi ek safar hai suhana, yahan kal kya ho kisne jana. Life is a beautiful journey. Who knows what tomorrow happens? Live for today. Be honest to what you do. We'll see about what tomorrow brings. That's the philosophy of life. That's the way to live life.
I think with the last question, we're winding up.
Sir, what do you think is the biggest ethical challenge journalists face today?
That's a very good question. I think the biggest ethical challenge is simply to stay honest and report the news as you see it. Free of all political pressure. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
Not easy, no. But I think, ma'am, if you are happy to just rest with your own conscience, when you go to sleep every night, the only person you are answerable to is your conscience. You are not answerable to anyone else. If that is the philosophy that you have in your life, I think your ethical challenges will get sorted out. You should have a strong sense of right and wrong and be able to say, no, I will not do that, that's unethical. So as long as you have that, ma'am, and you seem to have that in your spirit in that question, I'm sure you'll be a good journalist.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.